All right, here we go. Welcome to the Levels Podcast on a Wednesday. It is Regretsgiving. Why is it Regretsgiving? Because right about now you regret inviting all those people to your house for Thanksgiving. It is pre-Thanksgiving, and you know what? If you're gonna hit the adult beverages, now's the time to do it. Before Aunt Shirley.
Pre-party.
Yeah, and Grandmama Bertha, before they catch on to what you keep sneaking off to the garage to do, whatever you're doing.
It's legal in Nevada.
It's legal here as long as you're not driving or operating heavy machinery. I'm Jeremy Long. Welcome to the show. She's the Sportsnista, Cece.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. I got some almond milk eggnog. Almond nog. I was looking for the coconut milk nog.
Almond milk eggnog?
Yes,
Eggnog?
man, listen, I don't fool with, the cow's milk.
If you're going to drink, you don't want to poop yourself.
Yeah, no, man. I got a real sensitive system, just like me. I'm sensitive. Not so much. I'm hard.
You a fool, man. I love it. What are your plans for Thanksgiving real quick?
I'm going to my sister's house. Shout out to Tasha White and Kevin who are hosting us. I always cook at home, so I'll have a whole spread at home so that we can come home and eat ourselves into a stupor and be catatonic.
Coma.
Yeah, that's right.
A nice little food coma.
All good.
Quan, any plans real quick? Anything you doing?
Man, I got like 4 places to go.
Okay.
I'll probably make it to 2. It's one of those things like I plan on way too much, and I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of full. Football's over here on the TV already.
You show up at the last 2, and they just got a plate for you.
Exactly.
You go and hug people, and you go back home and go to sleep for about a day and a half.
One of my boys put up a menu of what he's having for people that, for his friends that didn't have anywhere to go.
Right.
And I'm like, look, I got 3 places to go. Can I still come get that plate, though? So.
That's good. That's good. And before we begin, we got lots of news and notes here. But before we begin, shout out to my friends and family in Southeast Texas right now. I know you guys are dealing with the explosion that happened at a local refinery a couple of miles away from where I used to live. Glad all my friends and family are okay. Glad you're okay. So if you need a little distraction and you're heading out of town because of the mandatory evacuation, watch Levels. And we're gonna inform you on the things going on in combat sports. And let's go ahead and start right now. On Monday, ESPN reports that Khabib versus Tony Ferguson may happen April 18th in Brooklyn. Now, this is the 5th time that this fight has been booked. Cece, what are your thoughts on Nurmagomedov? I can't say his name now. Khabib and Tony facing off.
I will love to see it. The 5th time is a charm. Now it's one of them like fool me kind of things, though. Like, I'm not going to get excited until the walkout.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to get excited about this fight. Now, I'm excited about the potential of this fight, but I've been fooled and let down many a time.
Fool me.
So let's just get, and April's a long time away.
Long time.
And MMA,
Shout out
and
to
combat
the Aries,
sports,
actually.
that might as well be just forever away.
It's a minute, but I do heart Tony Ferguson. So let's, I hope they are able, because if it doesn't happen this year, then it's a wrap. That fight's not happening.
It ain't gonna happen.
Ferguson's just going to age out and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's say a quick prayer for me so that I can say these names on these cards. Because apparently I can't. Gina Carano comes out and says that she was ready. She had a deal in place to face one Ronda Rousey back in the day when Ronda was still undefeated before she got head kicked into the shadow realm by Holly Holm. But Uncle Dana messed it up. Did you hear about this?
Unc D. Apparently there were some expletives exchanged in some text messages, and that fight never happened. I think it was like they offered her $1 million to actually take the fight. Her side said she's ready. UFC said that she didn't take the fight. So what we do know is the fight didn't happen.
Yeah.
So
we all got robbed of it.
We got robbed.
Would have been one of the best looking MMA main events in history.
You know what? It would have had some really good billboards associated. That would have been some really very beautiful marketing material would have been surrounded that fight.
Yeah, so Carano says the deal was in place. She had lunch with Dana and Lorenzo, and she wanted 6 months of no talking about it because she needed a camp. We got to realize at this point, Gina Carano was an actor. She had just moved over. She hadn't been fighting at all.
No.
She wanted 6 months to get a team in place, then another 6 months to train and get back into fight shape. And Dana just couldn't help it. He just
rocks.
wanted to just go out there, and there you go. And unfortunately, she was like, "Hey, bro, it's not what we agreed to, and I don't need your $1 million no more because I got other millions, and people are trying to kick me in the face."
Furious, Bo, don't you know?
Too Fast, Too Furious, and then Deadpool, and then she's in the new one, Disney, the Mandalorian or Mandalorian or whatever he's name.
Right.
Yeah,
I've been
you go.
watching that at like 1 in the morning.
Baby Yoda?
I can't figure out.
Come on, you're gonna get your kid a Baby Yoda, right?
No pets
I'm buying
allowed
myself
in my
a Baby
house.
Yoda. Although I had to order it on Amazon because they can't go into a toy store looking like this and get a Baby Yoda.
You could.
The cameras
People would
follow me
you
around.
out.
Yeah, they follow me around. Canelo, for weeks and weeks and weeks, Canelo has been called out by Jorge Masvidal, who just won the BMF title over Nate Diaz, saying that he wants to box Canelo. Yeah. He definitely wants to box Canelo. Canelo finally responded. Here's what he said on a podcast just earlier this week. He said, looking at it from a business standpoint, it is attractive, but it's not a challenge for me, so it's not my priority. Read between the lines there, CC. What is he saying?
He's saying, bro, I got real belts over here, and I'm not playing around for some fictitious Lego business that you got going on in the UFC. I'm making $365 million.
Right.
I got 8 more fights to go on this here DAZN contract. Nah.
After that, they'll talk. Yeah. He said it is interesting to him, but he's like, that's light work. So. He goes, and the amount of money people would pay for that after that whole debacle with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather.
Come spar with me, son. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Nah, and that's not even a fight I want to see. Why I got to see that?
There's bigger things out there. I would much rather see anything other than that.
Masvidal go kick some heads in UFC.
Yeah, Masvidal. And I get it, man. Masvidal's calling out anyone that can give him a payday. Yeah. I get it. I totally get that. But it says something about the world of MMA that these guys constantly have to do that. They're constantly trying to fight boxers because their own mixed martial arts counterparts aren't really doing their part to promote themselves.
I want to add one more zero.
Because do you want me to point out KSI and Logan Paul and their $900,000 paydays each before their bonuses, when these other guys fighting on UFC undercards are making $1.25 and a ham sandwich?
I don't want to hear no more about that. They ain't even ham on it.
That's like government ham.
Government cheese
government
sandwich.
Pork under something.
Or if they're lucky, it's pimento cheese. Although pimento cheese is good. You people know about pimento cheese in
Texas.
Texas.
That's disgusting. Come on.
I like pimento.
Get out of here.
Beyond meat.
It's beyond meat.
No,
yeah, on the side of something it says meat. It just says meat. Meat, period. That's like what spam on the side of it says meat.
It just says meat for some basic thing. Why are these boys crying? We've got the game. There's the Kansas Dayton game on. Why are they crying?
Stop watching TV and pay attention to the show you're on.
Crying.
Right,
I'm seeing men crying.
Well, because we were just talking about meat.
Oh, okay. That's right.
And they're sad that you're a vegetarian. Paige Vanzant returns to strawweight to face Macy Barber. Oh, no, I misread that. She will not face Macy Barber. She's facing Amanda Ribas. And if the name sounds familiar, they're going to be fighting March 14th in Brazil, of all places. Amanda Ribas is coming off of that butt kicking she gave Mackenzie Dern. One-dimensional Mackenzie Dern. Someone lied to that girl, told her she had stand-up. And she kicked her butt for 3 rounds. Took that O from Mackenzie Dern. Paige Vanzant was last seen in the octagon in January of this year, submitting Rachel Ostavarich, and then griping about the UFC for a year. And this is the last fight of her contract. She said, I will be a free agent. Now, what do you think, Cece? What is a Paige Vanzant command on the open market to Bellator or ONE FC?
A lot.
Is it?
Yeah,
a lot of zeros?
She would be at the top of the food chain if she went to Bellator. She definitely cannot go to ONE.
You think a lot of eyeballs would tune in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Game-changing eyeballs for her?
Yeah, I mean, she comes with a name. She looks good on the marketing material, and she's actually a great interview, so wouldn't be afraid to put her out there in front of a microphone. But at the same time, is she Brazilian?
Yes.
Like fighting a Brazilian in Brazil is asking to get pieced up. So that's
an extra level when
that's a whole
you're
other
representing
level.
La Familia.
Yeah, you can't.
And
But
Brazil.
she took that fight instead of Macy Barber. It's like now I think Barber was going to get with her with those elbows anyway, but you're going to take a different type of whooping, leave the country, leave the continent to avoid Macy Barber? Macy Barber? Like, you're running from her.
But hey, if you're looking at that next contract, you can't have your face all pieced up.
Well, it could still happen, and I don't know why she would want that next contract. She can go out and do the Gina route and get into movies and make more money without getting kicked in the head. That sounds better to me.
And Reba showed that she was no slouch on the ground because Dern got her down a couple of times and she was able to negate a world-class athlete in Mackenzie Dern on the ground. And she kept it standing and just pieced her up.
Her jiu-jitsu looked really good, and she's strong as well, she's been active.
And she's deceptively quick with her hands. She's got very accurate strikes, man. So that is that'll be something to behold if it stays together. Again, March 14th is years away.
It's in Tomorrowland, folks.
In MMA. That's literally next year. That's a dad joke. There you go. Everyone's laughing. Now that Wilder has taken care of business with Luis Ortiz, 800-year-old Luis Ortiz, he will now face 300-year-old Tyson Fury and a rematch of their first fight set for
Centurions.
February 22nd, most likely here in Las Vegas at the MGM. Early thoughts on the Second World War?
Well, they did say so. They've confirmed the date. It's still up in the air. I'm not convinced that Tyson Fury is going to be ready. There's going to be a lot of scar tissue. I talked to his cut man, Jorge Capetillo, last week, and I asked him straight up and out, was like, how comfortable are you working that corner? And knowing that your man had 47 stitches just a few months ago, and he was like, well, it's in God's hands. Well, when you hear something like that,
wow.
It wasn't like he will be ready, we're confident, it's in God's hands. So,
that is true. It is in God's hands. And
it's about to be in Deontay Wilder's hands.
That's not a confidence building statement right there.
Yeah. So,
but you do have to worry about that eye because Otto Wallin really busted him open.
47 stitches, man.
Wow.
Ton of scar tissue is going to be formed around that. And, Tyson Fury has been known to be an emotional kind of guy. Yep. And could very well abandon the game plan if he's feeling a certain kind of way, if he's getting touched up. So this referee, the next referee very well might stop a fight like that as well, instead of letting it go on because he wasn't trying to mess up the bag.
And my man, he's already got that dangerous right hand. He's got that concussive right hand. A couple of those to that scar tissue area, and you don't have Stitch Duran in your corner.
You're right.
That's going to open up. It's going to open up quick.
If that were me, and I know jack doo-doo about training a boxer, I would be like, you're going to open up that cut quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Yeah, keep pawing at it. Anything to open up that cut.
Okay. On it.
That's funny. Rolling right ahead. Let's just go and roll on. Speaking of Tyson Fury and Luis Ortiz, you, of course, were working all day and night there.
Ooh, a week.
You get some overtime there. They set up a tent for you inside the MGM at some point. And you got to catch up with a lot of different people with a lot of different outlooks. So I'm going to kind of prompt you. You tell me what this is. We're going to kind of look at some of these interviews you caught up with. Sure. Everybody in the world was there.
Everybody in the world was there.
The first one, of course, speaking of Stitch Duran, one of the most famous cut men in the world. He's been doing this for decades, and he's really one hell of a great guy.
Stitch is an awesome human being. Love talking with him. He's super humble. He was cornering a young fighter from the Philippines for free. A friend of his called and said, hey, got a guy coming. He doesn't have a lot of money. Stitch said, say no more. So that's in the clip. He also talked about what he thought about Deontay Wilder and gave some inside information on what that KSI camp was like. Because, of course, he was in KSI's corner for that fight against Logan Paul. It's always a pleasure to talk to Mr. Stitch Duran. All right, Cassandra Cusino, your girl, Sportsnista here with the famous Stitch Duran. Who'd you have on card tonight?
You know, I worked with this young kid, John Cimino, from the Philippines. They asked me through a friend, kids, not making a lot of money and all that, so they're big fans of mine, and I had this weekend off, so I said, you know what, if you need, I'd love to work your corner, and I won't even charge you. It's kind of a giving back to the community, back to the fighters, and they were all pumped because, I guess, in the Philippines, people know who I am.
I think in a lot of countries, people know who you are. In boxing, my friend.
yeah, it's kind of nice, you travel the world, and people you don't even expect stop me, and it's kind of honored and privileged by that.
How does it feel like at this point in your career, you just get to choose now?
Yeah. Well, it's a blessing. I'm blessed every day, and just the things that are happening in my career and my life outside of just working cuts. And they're filming a new documentary on my life, and based on the book that I wrote, From the Fields to the Garden, because I grew up as a farm worker in the San Joaquin Valley of California, and born and raised in a migrant camp. And my goal was to make it to Madison Square Garden. So our first days of filming happened to be when Triple G was fighting, of all places, Madison Square Garden. So we got a gold mine there. And of course, I'm working with Triple G, so they gave us carte blanche and all access to film my pieces of what I needed of the garden. So it's going to be like a year project, and it's going to be a 90-minute documentary, but it's pretty badass, man. Not to say, because it's on me, but just the work that these guys are doing is tremendous, the film work and all that.
Now, that can't be the first time someone's approached you to tell your story, is it?
No, you know what? There's been a couple other companies that have done some filming, but that's as far as it went. And when I met with these guys, they really did. They hit the spot. They know me as a combat guy because they, the director Danny Acosta from San Francisco, he been in the martial arts all his life, and Gerard Roxburgh, the producer, they know my history. So they got into my souls, and that's what I wanted them to do. And that's why I signed. And then a week later, they called me, and Triple G's fighting at the Garden, so I was blessed. So that's a gold mine. That's the end of the documentary.
It comes back full circle for you, right?
It's a blessing.
Tell me about Fight Dome. How satisfied with you about how the season went?
Yeah, the season was very good. We were just talking about it a while ago. The caliber of fights that Orsat Zofko puts together are really top of the line.
Beautiful venue.
And the venue is tremendous, and the vision that Orsat has for the Fight Dome is coming true, So we're expecting a big year in 2020. Everybody's regrouping, and we're trying to polish, put polish on the armor and getting ready for battle and just go forward and, see where we're at a year from now. And I think, you like it, I like it. I think the fans love it. So, I mean.
Speaking of battles, we had one tonight. What do you make of the power that Deontay Wilder has?
I've always been impressed, but, it's the physics. I've always say, like, you have a towel and you get that towel and you snap it. Deontay Wilder has that snap.
Oh, there you go.
And it is buffering.
There you go.
Oh, so I'll just fill you in on the rest of that clip.
He's got that snap. All right.
He's got that snap. I asked him who's the real champion of the heavyweight division right now. He said they all are. He said they all bring something different, and they being Wilder and Ortiz, and you can throw Fury in there because he's technically a lineal champ. Right now, and so he's really excited about that. He also talked about KSI being in camp, and he said the first day he walked in, he was playing himself on some rap song or something, and KSI said to Stitch, "Do you know this song?" He said this to Stitch Duran. Stitch was like, "Man, I didn't even know who you were." I got a guy here, so no, I didn't. And he was trying to say this in a nice way, in that he was hoping that the kid was a little bit more humble, but he got humbled. There was an incident with his lead trainer, and he tried to calm him down, and the trainer just walked away for the day. And Stitch was like, "He's trying to teach you a lesson and give you a test, but you failed the test. You got Jeff Mayweather here, you got myself here. You need to calm yourself down. So that was that's what I talked to Stitch about. That clip is up on my Instagram page if you want to see the full clip.
Nice.
Great guy.
Okay, and kind of moving on to something of the more bizarre. You also ran into one of the ex-wives of the great Muhammad Ali. Now, what the hell? Just tell me about this.
It was so I could hear. There's just a lot going on in the press room, and I could hear this woman's voice just permeating the room, and it was moving around. So she was talking to other people, and so I caught her out the corner of my eye, and it happens to be Kalia Ali, that Kalia Camacho Ali, who is Muhammad Ali's second wife. That is not Layla's mom. And you could hear her saying stuff like that, like, we were his first family. I gave birth to his first children. So she is currently working on a book and a movie, and there's a gentleman who is kind of handling her throughout the room, trying to set the scene and make sure she wasn't giving up too much content about the new book and the film. It was more than slightly annoying to have the handler, because she was so talkative and forthcoming, and she's got a big old personality. So here we go.
Miss Ali, it's such a pleasure to meet you. What brought you out to this fight?
What brought me out to fight is the fact that my friend, my manager, Mr. Tony Mieles, asked me to come to the fight. I haven't been to a fight in a very long time. And the last fight I was at, it was with Robert Duran and Roberto Duran's son. And it was like, I enjoyed it because it gave me a chance to come see my my daughter and my grandsons here in Vegas, which they live here. And Rashida Ali and my two beautiful grandsons and my son-in-law, Bob. And I just enjoyed being here, and I was looking to see who was the favorite. I was feeling the elements.
Yeah.
And I chose Mr. Wilder, matter of fact, to win.
You got to see the heavyweight division up close, of course, being married to Muhammad. What do you think about the heavyweights now?
They have so many divisions now. It's not like the way it used to be. Like Wilder was saying earlier, it's just so many different divisions, and they should just have one heavyweight champion division. I mean, just one, but I don't mind it because you have different sectors and certain athletes, but people are not fighting the way they used to fight. Tonight was a fight that looked similar to the old days.
Speaking of used to, you've got a whole lot of stories to tell, right? So
Yes,
you're working
ma'am.
on a new project now.
I signed up with a beautiful company, Water Studios of Hollywood. This is Mr. Steve Nia.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're so happy and proud to have Kalila with us. She's a gem. She's absolutely talented, and her skills to tell the story are also really marvelous. So we're looking to produce a book, number one, which will be coming out in the middle of 2020, and followed by a movie. And the story in the movie will be told from Kalila's point of view.
Yes.
From the lady behind the legend.
This story of mine, unfortunately, it didn't make it to any of the Muhammad Ali autobiographies. None of it.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. They didn't talk to me. They didn't ask me questions. It was all about Ali. And see, for one, Ali is not a person that's a business mind person. He just allowed people to write stories about him in boxing. So it didn't really give an in-depth story about my life with him. Of course, I was mentioned in it. There's no way I could not be mentioned because I'm his first family that we created. Our first children came from him. And it was a very powerful marriage at that time. We represented the black family, black history. We're part of the black history, fighting in the struggles for the civil rights. helping his career. A lot of people don't know how much I helped him in his career. It was played on a down low. So that's kind of grand. It's not in the books because then I wouldn't have a story to write.
What was the story they missed that you needed to tell?
No, they didn't tell how we met. They did not tell.
Well, we don't want
That's
to
in the
tell the
chest.
whole story today.
Yeah, I gotta
But
ask
the book
though.
Yes.
will surprise you. There is a lot of depth, a lot
Yeah.
of details.
We were both young.
Exactly.
I was 10. He was 18.
When you
There
met,
we go.
you were 10.
There we go. All right. I can tell you this much: it would not be a happy story because this
Ooh.
is around the time. Now, if you're a little bit confused, if you don't know much about the greatest, this is about the time he had the title stripped from him because he wouldn't enter the draft.
Yep.
And they were married and they had twins and everything. So kind of a Vegas tie too, because one of the twins was Rashida Ali, who would later get married and father Biagio Ali Walsh, who went to Bishop Gorman here, was a great running back and is actually on the UNLV football team now. So kind
That's
of a
the
late Las
grandson she's
Vegas.
talking
Yeah, that's
about.
the grandson she's talking about, who is a phenomenal athlete in his own right. And he's a model. You know, he's a signed
Yeah.
model. Like,
Yeah.
he's a
He's
good looking kid. bro.
Pretty.
Yeah, pretty Ricky, what they call him, you know. So, you know, and if you're confused, she used to go by Belinda Boyd. And then the whole Nation of Islam thing, Cassius changed his name. She changed her name as well. But this was not a happy time.
Man.
She was having kids with Ali, and Ali was setting up franchises with other women around the world and doing his thing. And this all leads up to what I think the Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah, and you know, it was one of those interviews where like I really just wanted to hear what she had to say. I don't think anyone's heard anything from her publicly in decades. But at the same time, you know, Muhammad Ali is dear to my heart. And so I was real careful so that we didn't fall into any abyss that was going to start to get ugly in there. She's going to spill some tea in that book and in that film. And that producer, I'm telling you right now, he is going to let her spill as much. It's going to be messy. And I had to tell him, he's like, you know, she'll answer some of the questions and I'll answer some. And I was like, but I'm not going to ask you any questions.
I ain't
like,
talking to you, man.
Like, you know,
I know all my news people out there now do that. You got two people coming up to you, and only one of them you're interested in. You just kind of move the other one out the way. Like, I ain't trying to.
gotta ask.
Ain't nobody trying to talk to your stupid self.
It's going to be messy children.
Let's look real quick. You were also ran into Luis Ortiz, strength and conditioning coach, Coach Wade, the famous Coach Wade. You ran into him. We got a quick soundbite from him. What did Coach Wade have to say? What was the lead up to this?
Well, Coach trained Ortiz, and of course, Ortiz was in the best shape of his life. And I was asking him, how did that come to be? What was the greatest challenge for him? And so he had something funny to say about that.
What did you challenge him the most to do during camp?
You know, we've had a few challenges. You know, everything that I threw at him was kind of hard, but I think the thing that I enjoyed the most is when it was time to do abs. I love that. Because he give me, and I like that sound.
You know, your girl, the Sportsnista here with Coach Larry Wade.
Hey, how you guys?
You know, it didn't go your way tonight, but what are you most proud of?
You know what? I'm most proud of Ortiz being the man that he is. I mean, there's so many things and so many layers to his greatness. I had the opportunity to see who he was as a father, who he was as a boxer, and who he was as a man. And he shows all those things in the ring at one time. He fights with his heart. He's very strong. And I'm honored that he thought enough of me to bring me into camp and to endure me because I'm not easy. So he endured my workouts, and he didn't back down from any of them. And I'm happy that we saw some of those things tonight.
What did you challenge him the most to do during camp?
You know, we've had a few challenges. You know, everything that I threw at him was kind of hard, but I think the thing that I enjoyed the most is when it was time to do abs. I love that. Because he give me, and I like that sound. So at the end of the day, I think that was the most challenging from me, but he put work in for all of it. He didn't back down from any of it.
You know, he came out to Ricky Rose. Did you know that was going to be his walkout?
I had no idea who he was going to walk out to. And, you know, out of all the things that I have on my mind at that time, who they walk out to is the last thing.
It was so surprising, though, because he's so humble. And to come out to Rick Ross, it was a complete different thing for me, yeah.
Well, I think the thing is, when you're dealing with Deontay Wilder, you know whatever Deontay does is going to be big and flamboyant. So to even try to match up to that, no matter how loud it was still going to be a challenge to overcome Deontay's entrance.
Who you want Sean Porter to fight next?
I said this before. I want Sean Porter to fight anyone who wants to get in that ring with Sean Porter. They talk about Manny Pacquiao. Sure, I would love that. If they talk about Danny Garcia, yeah, I would love that. I would love Errol Spence again if he's willing to get back in that ring. So any of the guys that, the top 2 or 3 guys that, want to get in that ring, I'm pretty sure Sean Porter and Kenny Porter would take that.
Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
He turned into Master P, just
Nah.
Yeah, Coach Wade is a trip. Now, I was trying to connect the dots because he used to be a coach on the UNLV track team. And, of course, Jordan, now planned, it was Jordan Hardy. Jordan was on that track team around that time. So I wonder if he was her coach. Jordan does the in-ring interviews for Fox and PBC.
Ah, nice.
So we'll have to ask her if Coach Wade trained her and what that was about.
Good trainer, but there's only so much you can train for that right hand of Deontay Wilder.
Ain't no training for that.
Yeah, there ain't no training.
What
you gonna do? Just line up people, and just let them punch you in the face? It still won't prepare you for it.
Pretty much, you just fall flat. Learn how to do that.
And then very quickly, we ran into a good friend of ours, a good friend of the show's, who we had on just a couple weeks ago. I don't know how to describe this guy. He is the Flair.
He is the most entertaining man.
Blair Cobbs. You caught up with Mr. Cobbs, and what did Mr. Cobbs have to say?
First of all, shout out to Blair. Today is his son's 6th birthday, I believe. And so he talked about kind of finally being able to have nice holidays and being able to share them with his family and to do the things that he wanted to do. And he also told me what his favorite Thanksgiving side would be.
All right.
Interesting.
Cassandra Cousineau, your girl, the Sportsnista, here with Blair Cobbs at the Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz after press conference. I haven't seen the official scorecard yet, but how down did you have him?
I thought he lost every single second of the fight. Every single second.
You know what it's like to have to battle back in the ring. Deontay clearly was down in points. What would you be thinking at this point? Would you have the points in your head?
Well, in such a fight, Deontay Wilder knows his specialty. His specialty is knockouts. He never goes for he's not trying to win rounds. He's just trying to get that one shot, and he found it. It took time. He was very patient. I almost thought that he was taken out of the fight completely and he couldn't get it off. But he somehow has such resilience under pressure, and he got the victory in spectacular fashion.
We're coming up on Thanksgiving. How is this holiday season a little different for you and your family?
Oh, it's wonderful because I get to actually spend it. Usually I'm so caught up with boxing and fighting and everything. I finally got to finish off my year with a pretty good win streak of quality opponents. And now it's time to sit on my fruits of my labor and have good Christmases. And it's a wonderful feeling.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving side?
Macaroni and cheese.
Well, you're not training right now, so you could have all the carbs, right? I mean, I see you came out with the 6-pack still, so you can put some. Is it one cheese? Who makes the macaroni and cheese?
I don't know. It has to be like one of them old grannies. That's what I want.
Somebody with a bonnet. You hear that, sis? So somebody need to hook him up with some mac and cheese. You want the Velveeta in it?
No, I want it pure, authentic. Like you had to grate the cheese, you had to get the right milk and the butter, all of that, and the seasonings and that special seasoning from some old lady that from back in the 70s.
Somebody who put their foot in it, right?
Precisely. Somebody that puts their foot in it.
Somebody that puts their foot in it. I hope you get
what you need.
Come on.
I am Cassandra Cousineau, your girl.
It said seasonings.
No, that boy is a fool, man. I like him.
What was killing? He said some old lady from back in the 70s. And I'm like, how old is that? Like, I mean, you could at least go to the 50s or something like that.
CC, did I see you rub his stomach too?
Man, I touched that boy.
You know what
touch that fool.
He's like, you still get the 6-pack.
I mean, it was all in my face. He's walking around. It was cold out, too. You have no shirt on.
I'm going to talk to Mr. CC. Yeah.
Listen, I don't want no problems. Got 99. Don't want one more.
Wow.
Just shout out real quick. My mom just texted me. My mom's watching the show in upstate New York. Hey, Mama.
What's up, Mom? How you doing? We're having fun here. And finally, before we move on, Cece says some off-the-wall stuff, and we love the Sportsnista for all the things that she brings to the show. And I don't know, you may not know this, but she gets a little mouthy sometimes.
Oh, Lord.
And she let her mouth fly off about Ortiz and Wilder before the fight, saying something to the effect of, what was it? If Ortiz wins, I will eat meat on this show.
I'd have turkey.
I'd have turkey on the show. There you go. I'd have turkey on this show. So we held her to it.
Yeah.
She said it. We held her to it. Fortunately for her, Wilder woke up in the 7th round and knocked my man clean in half. I think he's still on the ground. They just left him cleaned up around Ortiz. Yeah. I think he's still on the floor at the MGM Grand. But she was of right mind to track down the heavyweight champion of the world, Quan. Track him down like a bloodhound after this fight. This man is on top of the world. He just came off a spectacular knockout. He's the king of boxing.
He was trying to leave.
And she cornered him in a little bitty hallway, and she made him, she said thank you in a very polite way to Mr. Deontay Wilder.
We do not have that.
We don't have it.
We do not have that.
Oh, my gosh. We don't have this. Okay.
We'll put it on our page
you can
later.
go to our page, and you can see it. She corners Deontay Wilder and says, do you know, I had a bet with my co-host, and if you wouldn't have won, I would have had to go on the show and eat turkey. And he was like, what?
Right. First he didn't hear me. He's like, what are you talking about? He was really trying to leave.
Yeah, he was trying to get out of there, but Cece is about 3'5", but she's about 6'9", 6'10" on the inside.
6'11" on the inside.
6'11" or so on the inside, give or take an inch. He said, basically, you're welcome. Mm-hmm. It's a very funny moment. Go to our.
Eat up, man. I said, listen, it was bad for Ortiz's health, but it was good for mine.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
I'm like, we won.
Yeah.
We won.
She was more excited about that than anything else.
No one was celebrating more inside of MGM Grand Arena than I was, because that fool was losing every single round.
And every round, she was like, oh, my God.
I was like, this is not good.
But you know what? It would have been turkey with some almond milk. So it didn't upset your sensitive stomach.
I would have I'd have pulled like the okey doke and had me some like Ferky up in here.
No, we would have been bringing in the turkey.
No. We would have done it fresh.
We didn't trust you.
Yeah, no. We don't. I couldn't trust that to you anyway.
Harmful.
So, all right. So that's that. We're, now we're moving forward. Like we said, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, February 22nd. Here in Vegas, and site will be locked down soon.
What's crazy about that fight? So you've got Deontay Wilder, who basically signs like one fight deals with promoters, and you've got Tyson Fury, who's with Top Rank, and it's very likely that that Deontay is actually going to be fighting underneath the Al Haymon PBC banner for that fight, and then you've got Fury and Top Rank. Errol Spence, Al Haymon, PBC. Terrence Crawford, Top Rank. Can we make that happen? Like, if these two promoters can make probably the biggest fight of 2020 happen, can we not get those welterweights in the ring? Errol's got some legal things.
They have their backgrounds and stuff. Promoters do. And if it was up to promoters, I don't think anyone would ever box ever, because promoters, you don't like to be the one that blinks. You don't like to put out the first number, because then it shows your weakness. And they went to those Donald Trump schools of business and everything.
Quit playing.
But what needs to happen is more, when it gets to a certain point, the fighters themselves have to step in and say, look, I want to make this happen.
Right.
The guy's offering me $12 million plus these other bonuses. That's enough for me.
Belts.
Let's get in there and let's fight. Let's give the people what they want. Because then you end up with Floyd and Manny past their primes, you know, and it does a lot of business, but really the only people that, you know, the only people that really hurt from that are the people that paid for it. That's the fans.
Right.
You know, and so that, you know, the fighters got to step up at some point. I get business is business, but at some point they got to step up and say, I want this fight. Talking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Your mom's watching. Hi,
Hey,
Mom. I know she's probably getting everything together.
Making food. She's making corn pudding, which is like my least favorite thing like ever on the planet. Like
What
my mom,
is going on with your
I don't
family?
know.
You're a vegetarian. She makes corn
Corn
pudding.
pudding, but she makes everything else very well. That's just like my least. I just don't like canned corn, but I promise
I use
you,
spices and everything, right?
I don't
Or is
know.
it that old world
I
like
don't
sea
know.
salt and nothing else?
Yeah, I don't fool with it. But my family will have no less than 37 side dishes on the table.
So
no doubt.
we love side dishes, and our love of side dishes go back, well, many years.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to thinking, if you were throwing a Thanksgiving feast and you had to invite over 6 fighters and tell them to bring side dishes to your house,
Yeah.
who would you invite? What would they bring? And, you know, why would you make them bring that certain side dish? So let's kick this off. CC, since you are the vegetarian, I will let you go first since you obviously have no idea what you're talking about.
Listen, no. I got a little something for everybody. The first person I'm inviting is Claressa Shields, because Claressa has recently gone vegetarian, and I'm going to let her bring.
What'd she bring it over? Iceberg lettuce?
Collard greens, full. Like, I don't. Listen, my family's got some roots in the South. We've got this big illustrious garden,
Greens.
and
Gotcha.
she is bringing. And plus, she's from Flint, Michigan, and I know she knows how to season food. Or she at least gets somebody in her family who will help her season the green. So like that's gonna be my. And plus, like, you gotta have somebody at the table who's willing to talk some trash.
We have a caller real quick.
Who this?
Yes, you do have a caller. I would have Floyd Mayweather, and I'd let him bring whatever he wanted to bring because he's Floyd Mayweather. He may bring geese. I've never had geese. You know, but like, I don't know if it's legal to eat geese. I don't even know if it's legal. So
This is
Floyd
a prank
it'd be
call.
stuffed with caviar.
This
Be
is
like
a prank
caviar
call.
and geese.
Caviar inside.
Turducken and
Yeah.
geese.
Foie gras. Foie gras inside,
and
inside geese, served on a golden platter.
Inside geese. Oh yeah.
This is
You know,
Michael
cutting
Price.
it with platinum. Cutting them in platinum utensils.
Platinum
Platinum
utensils.
utensils.
You're not allowed to eat from them.
They're-
You have to drop the food
yeah.
into your mouth from them.
And then
No,
they're probably
that'd be the best
served
thing
by
ever.
like
Yeah.
some half-naked women from Girl Collection too.
Yeah.
I
all
didn't say that.
This guy's
said
blocked
that.
from now on.
I'm
This is a
just-
prank call.
I'm just saying.
I thought Quan screened these guys.
Michael Price.
Thanks a lot for
from
your
the
call,
final
Michael Price.
countdown. We're gonna see you in I don't know, probably you're probably in the hallway. As a matter of fact.
Probably around the corner here. All right. Thanks, Mike. All right. You want to go second? Or you want me to?
You go. Go ahead.
Okay. My first one, I would invite Daniel Cormier.
Oh, DC. What can DC bring?
Man, Daniel Cormier's going to bring the stuffing.
Ah.
Come on. You know my man is from Louisiana. I'm from Texas, right on the Louisiana border. So a lot of Cajun influence, a lot of spice, a lot of just, oh, man, I could just taste it. And come on.
Probably
Daniel
got some
Cormier
sausage in it.
Daniel Cormier is a man of a certain age and a man of a certain size. I know that man knows what good stuffing tastes like.
Yes.
I would invite Daniel Cormier.
He
That
knows
stuffing
what
would
a lot
be.
tastes like.
You ever seen that video of him dancing around eating donuts and stuff?
Oh, man.
Oh Lord, you
Not
never get that back.
donuts.
Thank God for the internet. But Daniel Cormier would be my first choice.
I'm staying with the ladies of boxing. I'm going with Franchon Cruz. She's born and raised mostly in Virginia, grew up in Baltimore, and she's got to bring some mac and cheese. Some mac and cheese.
Is that for
and
Blair Cobb?
And you know what? She's another one who knows how to season food. I bet you. I bet you she got a granny who could put her foot in. See, I'm inviting people who can bring something that I can eat. This is for my edification.
Oh, okay.
And my entertainment. And I
See,
know
now-
between Claressa and Franchon, some like jokes are gonna get off.
Let's see. Come on, man. So you being selfish. I'm thinking about everyone.
Now
and you're
this
being
is
selfish.
this is my Thanksgiving.
Okay, so we're talking about the fighters you would invite for Thanksgiving, and what sides would they bring? We have another caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah, what's your name, brother?
My name is Christopher.
Christopher, what's your question? What's your comment?
I just wanted to talk about Deontay Wilder. Am I crazy in thinking that he's completely... I mean, I know he has one-punch knockout power, but I'm just not sold on his boxing ability. I think he's one of the most overrated fighters that we've had as champion. No, look at his record.
Yeah.
You look at his record coming up in the ranks.
Sure.
Dude was protected more than the president is protected by the Secret Service. I mean, you got a who's who of just tomato cans and, to use a WWE term, jobbers.
Chris, I will take this question. I see what you're going at here, so I'll take this one right here.
He was losing to Ortiz. He was getting smoked by Ortiz until that punch in the 7th round with 9 seconds left. Ortiz was crushing him.
I agree.
I agree with everything, fight.
Except saying that
he was losing the Fury fight until the 12th round knockdown. He was losing that fight too.
Except saying that my man is overrated, Chris. Because here's what it is. Is he the best boxer?
Look at his record.
No, he's not the best boxer. No one's ever claimed he's the best boxer. He's not Muhammad Ali. He's not any of these. No, I don't even think he's Mike Tyson as far as form and everything. He wings his punches and
he's a knockout artist.
But he is a knockout artist, and that is if you only have one trick, but that is a hell of a trick. Is that right hand? That's all you need. And when it comes to his record and looking at it, the heavyweight division right now, as it stands in boxing, is trash. Okay?
You got 4 guys.
It's trash.
So we could sit here and speculate about how he would do against Ali and Tyson or Joe Frazier or these guys back in the day. But none of those guys exist in present day boxing.
Nah.
The point about him is he is knocking out everyone they are putting in front of him.
100%.
So
100%.
that's the only thing. That's the only thing he can't do. That's the only thing he should do, and that's the only thing he needs to concentrate on. The real tests are coming. The Tyson Furies, the Andy Ruizes or Anthony Joshua's. Those fights are coming up now. And we're gonna find out exactly what Deontay is. But 4 or 5 fights from now, if he's knocked all those guys out, then
he's not a great. He's one of the greats.
Then he's one of the greats.
Yeah,
that's
well, he's going to go down as being one of the greatest knockout artists. But you started out your call saying, call me crazy. All right, you're crazy. Because he has knocked out 40 grown heavyweight men, laid them prone in the ring. He has fought Molina, Ortiz, Stavern, Fury, Spuka, knocked them all out.
Knocked them all. Been relevant.
He was but he was relevant when he fought him. He's fighting the people that they put in front of him. And also Deontay. Yeah, I'm gonna let you finish, but you're so crazy. But Deontay Wilder's 212 pounds. He's 212 pounds at 6'8". Right, he's a small heavyweight in terms of like weight and heft that he brings into the world. But let me ask you this: nobody was saying anything when Tyson Fury was fighting Otto Wallin, some 24-year-old from Sweden, and Tom Schwartz. Who heard of Tom Schwartz out of Germany? All of these guys have these so-called tomato cans on their resume. Deontay Wilder started boxing professionally when he was 20 years old. He did the 20s to start boxing. Might as well be 34.
Yeah.
So, and this goes to my other point that a record that doesn't get talked about as much, but is one of the greatest records that we will never see broken in our lifetime, is the Tyson record of being the heavyweight champion of the world at 20 years old. That record will never be touched ever again.
Not likely.
I'd be hard pressed. Be hard pressed.
I mean, well, like you just said, Wilder started boxing freshly at 20. Tyson was at top of the world at 20.
But
we'll never see that ever again.
Yeah, no,
and that
I agree with you.
There with DiMaggio's 56 game hitting streak. They should go up there with Barry Bonds' 73 home run season.
Yeah,
I think Tyson's 20-year-old being heavyweight champion at 20 years old, that's an unbreakable record.
It was definitely special.
That's something special.
It does not get talked about at all.
Sure it does. It gets talked about. Like you said, you call me crazy.
All right, Chris. Thank you so much for your call, man. I appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Have a good one, man.
Deontay Wilder's career, what they did was they developed him, and we don't see that happening with fighters very much because, the fans were bloodthirsty. We want people to get out there and get their heads beat in.
And then what you see is that you get a lot of guys who themselves were being developed, and then they come in and they got a guy, Otto Wallin, 24-0. He's got a nice record because he doesn't have any losses on it.
Who was he fighting?
Who is he fighting?
Exactly.
But the heavyweight division is trash. But you finally have a point in time where you have 3 or 4 legitimate candidates where you had a decade in the Klitschko's of who'd the Klitschko's fight? Lennox Lewis, loss on cuts, on that.
And he got pieced up by Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury was acting a fool in the ring.
Yeah. So, after a decade of dominance, so... And the only good fight to make then would be brother against brother, and they were never going to do that.
His mama said no.
So let's go back to Thanksgiving. My second pick here.
He's right, though.
Also mac and cheese. It's funny that we went in this order. Mac and cheese. Henry Cejudo. You know why? Because he's cheesy. He's the cheesiest. Henry Cejudo would be my guy to bring the mac and cheese, because if you want that old-fashioned foot in it, old lady from the 70s
Something
who
funky.
made that. There you go. Henry Cejudo. I know he's got but he Mexicano, so he's going to put some spices and pepper in there.
I'm not mad at that. He was on my list. I had to take him off.
I'm just saying. There you go. So, all right, your third pick.
He was on my list, so we're going to have to go by your house. I'm putting Deontay Wilder next on my list because Deontay just got paid $10 million. He can bring a big old turkey. He can afford the meat to serve to the other guests. So, and plus, it's again about conversation. Deontay Wilder is a preacher's son. So somebody got to bless the meal. So with all these heathens.
We're heathens at my house.
And then I could ask him, why you punch so wild?
So then I have number 3 on mine, Stipe Miocic. You know why? Because he's as American as apple pie, and that's all I'm asking him to bring. Yeah. Bring an apple pie, Stipe. God bless you, sir. You're everything about America. Cleveland heavyweight champ. He's still a firefighter on the side. Come on, man.
All right.
And plus, if somebody chokes or the house burns down, like probably will, then you got a guy. There you go.
So my next pick is going to be Al Bernstein. He's not an actual fighter, but
Al Bernstein is not a fighter.
But he's in boxing. I need somebody who's going to bring us some stories.
Okay.
And Al Bernstein got plenty of stories, and I want him to bring some mashed potatoes and gravy.
I will bring you that. I will give you that one. Okay.
I got
so you got Al Bernstein for potatoes. All right. My fourth one, Gina Carano.
Well, you need something to look at. Is that where we're going?
She bringing the yams, baby.
She bringing it.
Gina Carano got the best yams in the business, and if you think otherwise, we're gonna fight. Gina Carano is bringing some sweet yams, some candied yams.
Some candied yams.
To my party. Al Bernstein is not invited.
Al, you coming to my house? Don't worry about this fool.
Gina, bring an extra helping of them yams.
I'm bringing Tony Ferguson because you got to have somebody at the table who's going to do some cussing. And he's allowed to bring some pie as long as he buys it.
Usually that's your drunk uncle.
I don't trust him actually going to make anything, but you do need a drunk uncle that you potentially may need to call the cops on. Because
we the one drunk in the back kicking down banana trees.
What's our Thanksgiving without a story? Remember that time I called the cops on your uncle? That's gonna be Tony Ferguson for me. And I think somebody should always be chaperoning Ferg anyway. Just get your mind right.
Yeah, our friend Alan Snell saying Daniel Cormier would gobble up the entire dinner.
This is true.
And so, that's more side dishes than Dana White drops the F-bomb at his press conferences. Yeah, okay, that's pretty true.
Gotta have an F on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to. We love Alan. Thank you,
got
Alan,
one
so
more?
much. Yeah, I got another one. We had a mystery caller a while ago saying he would bring Floyd Mayweather. And you know what? Number 5, I would invite Floyd Mayweather as well. And you know why? Because he's going to bring that bread, baby. He's got bread, baby.
All the bread.
He's bringing the great bread, the rolls. He flew over to France and got them himself. He's bringing them back on his private jet.
Chef
But my man, let's get this bread, Floyd Mayweather.
He might make it rain for you a little bit.
He might.
Break you off some bread.
You might have to be on a stripper pole, but he might make it rain for you.
Look, my mama says she's making ham shanks too. Just so.
Ham shanks. Thank you.
Like she's telling me she's making ham.
Oh,
Thanks,
okay.
Mom.
She's just telling you.
Just
Well,
what
as long as it's not corn pudding.
She's making corn pudding,
that to
collard
yourself.
greens, and
Keep that up
smoked
north.
ham shakes. Yum. My last person I gotta bring, always welcome
Carano?
at my table, Israel Adesanya. Izzy, come through. Let's talk some trash. But the only thing you're allowed to bring is papers and plastic. Any like paper plates. I don't even know if he probably didn't grow up celebrating Thanksgiving, so you don't know what the hell it's about.
Yeah.
But he can bring us some forks, some
It's
knives.
giving thanks.
Yeah, just come.
We're thankful for his dance move.
Listen, we're going to have a dance off because at the end of the night, I want a Soul Train line. And I might even put up some Ricky Rose. I fell out when Ortiz walked into Can't Play No Games. Like, if you ever hear that song, it is the most anti-Luis Ortiz lyrics that you have ever heard. But, yeah, I'm not playing no games. I'm having a Soul Train line.
Real Adesanya. All right, finally, I would, it's funny we would have one of the same guests. I guess he would be getting a plate from your house because I know he would want to hit my place first because we got games. It would be the heavyweight champion, Deontay Wilder. He would bring the turkey, just like you said. But my reason for him bringing the turkey is because just like turkey, my man puts everyone to sleep.
Night.
And you're going to go night once you get some of that Deontay Wilder turkey. There you go. Fighters and their side dishes. And you're right, Alan Snell,
Yams.
Daniel Cormier would eat all of that up. So
yams. What's wrong with you?
Sweet candied yams from Gina Carano. It's on my list this year if anyone is thinking about getting me Christmas presents. Gina Carano
Bring them
with some
yams.
candy yams.
Yeah.
I'm look forward more to the yams than Gina Carano, honestly. All right, let's look forward real quick before we call it a show. Valdez and Frampton. Carl Frampton once again in a title fight this Saturday. What do you think of my man, the Jackal?
It's good to see him stateside. He could become the first Irishman to actually grab that title. So interested in seeing history being made, but I'm really interested in seeing Oscar Valdez make his debut at super featherweight.
Yeah.
Oscar is perhaps one of my favorite fighters on the landscape right now.
It's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, he is slick. He punches in bunches. He moves a lot and is a technical fighter. Really fun to see him. There's a story up on lvsportsbiz.com. Hey there, Alan Snell, about how 2020 could be set up to be the beginning of a very magical decade in boxing in Las Vegas. And so it will be kicked off actually in February by our friends Fury and Wilder, and we threw some MMA in there as well. So check out lvsportsbiz.com for that story.
You know that unification, that heavyweight unification, they got to have that in Raider Stadium.
And actually,
65,000 people.
There's no other place. And if it is Ruiz versus Wilder,
that's going to be a good one. The Mexicano.
yeah, because
fan
Andy's
base.
got fast hands, and he can put some water in that basement. Be a
There you go.
problem.
All right, before we go, we're going to show you this, in case you missed it, at this regional MMA promotion, this incredible Rolling Thunder kick knockout by Davey Gallen on former UFC vet Ross Pearson. Let's check out this knockout real quick.
Under that eye. Spinning heel kick. Pearson with a body. Oh, shit. Oh, my God.
Goodness me!
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know what to call that!
Like, people didn't even know how to cheer. They thought it was a fluke.
My goodness!
A capoeira rolling heel kick.
I have never...
That's some Masvidal business right there.
I've never seen
Check
a
this
finish
out. I think
like that.
they're going to give us a slow-mo here in a second. Look at this.
Wow. Wow. Let's take a look at this replay.
It was like a
Wow.
front roll
You hear everybody,
heel
"Ooh!" Yeah, that's
There you go.
capoeira. Wow.
I mean, that's a risky technique to pull off. Took the risk. Paid off in spades.
kick. Yeah, I mean,
I hate to see that for former UFC vet Ross Pearson, but that is a beautiful.
Damn, Gina.
That is a beautiful kick. A Rolling Thunder capoeira kick. I think that's what we're going with here. Rolling Thunder capoeira kick. So there you go.
Ah.
That's us. That's Levels. I'm Jeremy Long. Squad 5'9's over there.
There you go.
MP's looking like Denzel. And the Sportsnista doing it. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Invite your favorite fighters over.
Yeah.
Bring sides. Tell us the story next week. We'll be at our regular time next week. We'll see you guys next week.
Next week.
How many times did I say next week? Yay.
Bye, Mama.